Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of The Gavel, featuring attorney Ana Toledo. Ms. Toledo is the senior attorney and general counsel to Targeted Justice. She has a background in constitutional and environmental law and is an experienced litigator, including 2 cases at the U.S. Supreme Court. And here's Ms. Toledo.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 55 of The Gavel, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the latest news relevant to the community of victims of government weaponization, as well as important updates of my mission for freedom here in Washington, D.C. I'm your host, Ana Toledo, an attorney with over 30 years of experience that now is dedicated to fighting for freedom for all, freedom from modern day torture and lawfare. Today is Friday, June the 5th, and this podcast constitutes a historic record of the fight for freedom from this horrific, unacknowledged special access program run by the intelligence community in the United States and exported everywhere around the world. Yeah, the freest country in the world exports torture and psychological operations to innocent civilians and Havana syndrome to innocent civilians around the world. It's not just reserved for the people, for the whistleblowers, the Christians, the J6ers, the parents protesting school boards, the people opposing COVID mandates, not reserved for all, and the people now opposing the data centers is not just reserved for them. So my goal, as you know, many of you know, that is to expose this program, because once it's exposed, it can no longer operate. It only operates because it's supposed to be covert. Once it's no longer covert, it's game over for the criminals. So I fight for freedom from torture and accountability against the government criminals that have obliterated the lives of so many that are not as lucky, as fortunate, as blessed as you are that are watching this, many that didn't make it to this day. And for them and for the generations to come, we are making this the good fight, the fight that God has placed us here to perpetrate, to carry out for freedom for everybody. Now, this week, exposure continues to happen. It's an avalanche. And the beautiful thing, which I'm going to talk about in a little while, is that you are seeing that people that before didn't care anything about the issues that affect our community, all of a sudden have gotten on board. And that is a beautiful thing to see. We are in a perfect time to be set free from the criminality. You have, and I have to say, you have no idea all the work it takes for me to get here. I don't have a producer. I have the help from Sean and from my digital warriors, and I do a lot of work that I cannot tell you I do. And maybe one day when we are set free, I will be able to let you know about how I had to squeeze out of 24 hours that didn't exist. Anyways, thank you to my beautiful friend Craig. I love Craig because he always, despite everything, he always has a smile on his face, and that's what we should aim for. So that's how I'm going to start the invocation of the Holy Spirit that we all carry within us, and hoping that it covers this beautiful space, because, as you know, the criminals don't like it when we speak out. And this is your little safe space where we can talk about those things that nobody can judge you. No one will judge you because we know we speak the same language. So this is from Matthew chapter 6, and it says verses 25 and 26. And it reads like this. Therefore, I say to you, do not worry about your life. What will you eat or what will you drink? No worry about your body. What would you put on? Is not life more than food and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air. for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And I have to tell you that is, I think, one of the things that has brought me to this day, that I do not worry about all those things that I cannot change. I just keep on going. I just keep on doing the things I need to be doing to achieve my goals. And I don't look to the side or to the back to see, should I stop? Should I, no, because when you start worrying comes from fear. When you trust in God, that comes from a place of love. And on a more practical sense, this, for those of you that have a little bit more logical thinking, I have to tell you that there are studies that have been carried out, and they buttress the idea that you do not have to worry, aside from trusting God, because most of the things you worry about do not happen. And I know I'm deviating a little bit from where I'm going to be talking about, but I felt it in my heart to put this out there today. According to research from 2019, 2020, the most reliable study says that from 85 to 91% of the things people worry about them never actually happen. The best scientific data comes from this study that says that for many participants, about 1 in 4, 0% of their worries materialized. That does not mean that you don't have to prepare backup plans, because when you prepare a backup plan, then you frustrate the criminal's attempts at making obstacles in your life. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't prepare a backup plan, but what I am saying is don't over worry. And particularly for those of you that have the horrific V2K torture telling you, I'm going to kill you. By now, you know two absolute truths. Number one, they are cowards and they're not going to kill you because they could have already done it. Number two, they have the weapons to have done it and they haven't done it yet. The goal is to torture you and make you anxious. So please try to ignore them as best you can. Read my mirror and you'll see some advice that I put in there. Anyways, now for those of you that did not get to read this week's newsletter, I'm gonna play the video, the newsletter that our beloved Sean always prepares for us on a weekly basis.
Weathermen are predicting a hot, dry summer with a super El Niño in the Pacific Ocean. One of the following methods that can cause Los Angeles has failed to fill their water reservoirs for 2+ years. It's apparently part of the fire plan. One of the methods that can cause these fires are satellites. The satellites use an infrared frequency, which is invisible to the human eye. However, a special camera that detects infrared frequencies can see the laser beam. The specific frequency is called near-infrared, or NIR. For actual imaging video, go with a full-spectrum converted DSLR mirrorless or a Cyanix Aurora. These are the only realistic consumer-level solutions that are able to see 1064 nm wavelength. Don't be naive. The government criminals will be watching for anyone that buys an infrared camera. Be anonymous. Either pay in cash or use a go-between method.
From the zapper to the silent night, Target Source LLC has been providing victims of government weaponization with devices that helps reduce their gang stalking and stop their microwave weapon attacks cold in their tracks. We have a list of details of several scientists and engineers who were connected to aerospace and anti-gravity technology that mysteriously disappeared or died in some form of an accident. Richard Lighthouse continues to be the only scientist worldwide that has provided mathematics and physics to explain anti-gravity technology.
The TI program mentioned in the Epstein file validates the experiences of survivors.
I'd rather die standing than live on my knees.
I was followed everywhere, and that's when the nightmare really began.
Someone you love and care for can be a victim of this.
The sickness that someone would torture a small child is beyond belief.
Enough is enough.
It's real. You think you could go to the law enforcement? No one will believe you. They're in on it.
With a high-powered weapon, kill an enemy over time and without leaving evidence.
It's my belief that the only reason this torture program is still going on is because the public just simply doesn't know anything about it.
Well, that's the thing. After they're done with us, they're coming for you.
People that have been subjected to such horror that it makes me more determined to bring this to an end.
Every disaster has a blessing in disguise, but it's up to us to utilize this moment to do something.
Most people have no idea what a neural weapon is, let alone what it's capable of. Something very dark is happening here, and I have a terrible fear this program could be scaled up to many millions of people. We must do something.
Yeah, MK Ultra never ended should be something that you are every day putting out there in social media, at least once a day. And I want to share with you that in the Targeted Justice website, there's a couple of things that I need to show you before I go to. I know we have a lot of news to go, but I have to show you this, and it is that I put, because Tom had asked me for the links of the translations to both documentaries. So they're all here. We're waiting for next month. We will finish doing the ones on dystopia. Okay. But so here are all the Rumble links. They are also in the YouTube channel. But if you want to share them, okay, here are the links. And I think this is like one very good way to be a digital warrior, sharing it with people that you know from these that speak these languages, that can put them out there. Okay, so yeah, thanks again to Sean for having done that, and most importantly, thanks to Dominic Halpin, the Targeted Justice Advisory Board member, who has put in the mouths of everybody the discussion about the targeting program and you know what goes on. Now let's go for the news, which you know every week it's just inevitable, you know, and I know some of you are like, okay, but when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? You know, it's going to happen in the time of God, in the Kairos. It's when it has to happen. So last week I told you about the federal judge that had temporarily stopped the weaponization fund, the $1,776 billion weaponization fund, and there were 3 lawsuits attacking it. And also that what we heard this week is that the senators, even Republican senators, were very mad about it, very angry, and opposed it. Not all of them, but many of them were opposing it. So before the fight was over, Todd Blanche threw the towel.
You're right that there's a date that not moving forward with the fund. You're right that there's a date that in the case in the East District of Virginia in June, but we are not moving forward with the fund, period. The reasons for the fund is something that President Trump talked about for a long time, which is the fact that there were a lot of people in this country who had their government weaponized against them. The reasons for the fund, I think, it remain as important as they were before, but we are not moving forward with the fund.
Okay, so after he said that on the June 2nd, Rhino Lindsey Graham, who has accused J6ers of being criminals, right? And he is bound to lose his primary despite President Trump's support. He wanted to earn some brownie points and posted on X something saying to this effect. He's saying, I am proposing that we create a weaponization fund that will be available to those who can prove their claim against the federal government through the Federal Tort Claims Act. Which obviously has its limitations. We have a legal system already in place for people to make claims against the government. That does not need to be reinvented. However, it is imperative that we allow people with meritorious weaponization claims to come forward and receive compensation through this fund. We have to recognize, now he's changing his tune. Now he's saying we have to recognize there was a wrong that must be made right if you can prove your claim through the existing process. But it's not over, because then yesterday, President Trump made it very clear that he's not leaving the J6s behind.
Ruled against it.
Yeah.
But just so you understand, these are people that have been decimated. These are people that lost their lives over nonsense, where the FBI said, go in, police, go into the... And they were supposed to serve 5 years, 10 years in jail. People committed suicide. People were treated, there's never been anything like this. What happened to those people? And these were many great people. And I gave them pardons. I'm very proud to have given them pardons. And I think they should be reimbursed for a crooked government. The government was crooked. This was the Biden group. And it's not Biden. Biden was too gone.
Yeah, Biden was too gone. It's the intelligence community. And that's the dot they still have not connected, that it all started at the CIA. And then they used the minions at the FBI to plan and entrap everybody. And so they also have the gang stalking. And even though the J6ers, what happened with the J6ers is that they, from A to Z, they did the program on them. And many of them don't even know that they are targeted. They don't even know about the program. They just think that they are a special class of people, which they were, because they were targeted for their political beliefs, and they just did the whole entire psyop on them, and many of them get the directed energy weapons. I really believe that President Trump is going to think of something, because he always does. And he seems to be coming back from that phase where, I was like, I don't recognize him. He seems to be coming back. And what I have to say about this fund is that anyways, the one good thing I thought it would produce would be apology letters, because I think that each one of you, even those outside of the United States, has the right to present your case before a jury of your peers, because you're not going to settle for pennies, because the torture that has been perpetrated against you is worth millions and millions of dollars. It's literally going to bankrupt the United States. But the thing is that there are private companies. The 600 companies that collude with the FBI, they are liable too, because they put in the reports to DSAC. DHS and all of its partners that have taken millions of dollars in their grants, they're going to answer to you. And so will the doctors that implanted you. that diagnosed you as a schizophrenic when you were not. There's a lot of private pockets that will pay for your damages, for your pain and suffering. So this weaponization club or panel would not have provided for any of that. And I am absolutely certain, because I can tell you for my side is I want those people that perpetrated the harm, the private ones, to pay as much as the government. It's solidarity. They are jointly liable. And I am sure that most of you feel the same way. Anyway, so more shall be revealed in that sense. Now, this next thing is I wanted to show you. See, there is something called divine justice, right? And John Bolton just pled guilty to mishandling of confidential documents and information using unsecure servers to share information. He has been one of President Trump's fiercest critics, insisting that the Mar-a-Lago raid was justified, when we already know that it was not. And I want to, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we're going to continue to see. It is my belief that we're going to continue to see, like God says, vengeance is mine, right? Well, this is what's going to be happening with all these characters that perpetrated so much harm and so much harm against the targeted community. This man under George Bush Jr. was, and I'm giving credit to the Lighthouse who taught me this, but I looked it up. He was the Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security. He handled non-proliferation arms control policy and was a key advocate for the Iraq War and the U.S. withdrawal from certain international agreements. Now, this is the one. He is the one that pushed for removing the United States from the International Criminal Court. And it is my opinion that the reason he did that is because he knew that the United States would be liable for crimes against humanity, right? And before that moment happened, which is about to happen pretty soon, he wanted to make sure that the United States would not be subject to the International Criminal Court. So that's important, that treaty, even though that treaty was approved under Clinton, but then under President George W. Bush Jr., the U.S. formally notified the UN Secretary General that it did not intend to become a party to the Rome Statute and therefore had no legal obligations arising from its original signature that had been on December 31st, 2000 under President Bill Clinton. So it was him who was responsible for the unsigning of the treaty that the United States had originally agreed to. So the way I see it is that justice is happening. He's probably gonna, he has to pay a $2 million. He agreed to pay a $2 million fine. And it's likely he'll be set, after they do the investigation, that he'll be sentenced to some time in jail. We don't know that. Anyways, now what matters for us now, FISA 702. As you know, the expiration date is June 8th of the 45-day renewal is June 12th. So all our eyes are on that. And one of the things that I think it's really great that it's unraveling before our eyes is that normies are getting in the fight. Look at this video.
I'm going to say something that folks don't want to think about. You all are getting way too comfortable being watched. Cameras on every corner, phones tracking every move. And now these flock cameras, reading license plates, tracking where you've been, where you're going. People just shrug and say, well, if you ain't doing nothing wrong. That ain't the point. Freedom disappears a little at a time. One camera, one app, one safety measure at a time. And before you know it, you're living in a country where everything you do is tracked. Now, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I don't think Americans were meant to live under constant surveillance. Because once people get used to giving up privacy, they usually don't get it back.
And so what I think is awesome about that is that our fight for recovering privacy has gone mainstream. And now everybody sees the intelligence community as the Stasi police, and everybody is fighting back, not just targeted people. And that is a huge win. So today we had I had a scare because some people in the Senate that I'm going to tell you about, they did a procedural motion today to advance a proposed 3-year extension of of an early Section 702 renewal this morning without telling anybody. The vote failed 52 to 47, short only 8 of the votes to 60. They needed 60 votes to proceed. Now, who were the proponents of this measure? You watch. Tom Cotton, who is the chair of the Senate Select Intelligence Committee, that was the committee that substituted the Church Committee. He is totally in bed with the CIA and intelligence community. In fact, I have tried to meet with his staff on multiple occasions, and they just say, no, thank you, goodbye. They treat me as if I was like, I don't know, selling stuff door to door or something like that, selling vacuum cleaners. Anyways, then the other one was Chuck Grassley. Yeah, Chuck Grassley, who uncovered the prohibited access files. He is also behind doing shenanigans, trying to silently, covertly pass the renewal, the 3-year renewal. On June 2nd, they did, they submitted the bill, and today they denied it. They voted against it. So we have to be watching out for that. Now, the good thing that is happening is that a bipartisan group, including Senator Hawley, Senator Mike Lee, and Senator Rand Paul, joined most Democrats in opposing this little shenanigan. The key sticking points are concerns over reforms that have not happened, especially the warrant requirement for querying Americans' data, and the backlash, and I'm going to talk about this in a little while, against President Trump's recent appointment of Bill Pulte as acting director of national intelligence. The Democrats are scared of this man. Only one Democrat, Senator Fetterman, voted in favor of advancing the measure. And I have to tell you, I thought he was a nice guy. But again, I tried to meet in his office, and he says, they answered, at least they replied, we're not interested in meeting with your group. So I have that little beef with Senator Fetterman that doesn't understand what the truth is. I think he's targeted too. Anyway, what's happening is that there is a freedom. The representatives in the Congress have created what they call a freedom caucus, and they wrote an op-ed in the. Let me show it to you in the. That's it. They wrote an op-ed in Fox News. Let me show you this to you. And then, Freedom Caucus, here it is. And this is what they wrote in their op-ed. Fix FISA, don't spy on us. They stated, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, has decomposed into a modern incarnation of the general warrants and writs of assistance that ignited our American Revolution. Created as a tool to track foreign threats, FISA has evolved into a domestic surveillance machine, sweeping up Americans' communications, hiding behind secret courts, and treating the Fourth Amendment like a roadblock instead of the supreme law of the land that it is. The rattlesnake on the Gadsden flag is issuing a new warning. Don't spy on me. We can start by addressing the expansion of the term electronic communication service provider. 2 years ago, the government brought in its surveillance phishing tool to include everyday Americans. Intelligence officials wanted access to one specific company. Instead, they rammed through the sweeping language that now lets National Security Agency, NSA, compel any U.S. business or organization with a computer, router, or server to hand over communications. That includes your local hardware store, community center, and yes, your neighborhood church. And here I'm going to stop before I finish reading this. That is so good, because this week I went to Congress, giving away my flyers and talking to some people. And what I did realize is that they know way more than I suspected they did. They know, I think they know what these criminals are doing. So then he says, we should enshroud the secrecy that enables current problems with FISA. Federal prosecutors routinely impose indefinite non-disclosure orders on telecom companies to prevent the public from seeing how extensive their domestic espionage operation is. I, for one, I know, we all know, ever since you have been targeted, it's very likely that they have had FISA warrants on you, and you've never seen one. Whereas if you have a warrant under an Article 3 court, they have an obligation to give it to you after they execute it. Even though in cases like James O'Keefe, they redact the entire document because they know that the FBI criminals didn't have any probable cause to go into his house and perpetrate that search and seizure order. And that's why they just redact the entire thing. And that has got to change. Anyways, so then the Freedom Caucus did something really cool, which is, let me show you this video here that they put out. And this week when I was I hadn't seen the video, but when I was in Congress this week, I saw them. So one of them,
don't spy on me. Don't spy on me. Don't spy on me.
I don't know any Americans that want Big Brother controlling our cars, tracking our money, or really just surveilling us from every corner that we turn.
But too often, the American people are left wondering, what's the government doing, trying to get in all their business?
It's enough.
Our privacy is not negotiable.
This is America, not some surveillance state. If they can spy on a member of Congress, they can spy on you.
Look, under the Biden administration, there were nearly 3 million warrantless searches of American citizens. That's unacceptable.
There's Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act authorization. If you're an American, you shouldn't be spied on as a foreigner, but they did it anyhow.
We want our intelligence community, our federal law enforcement community, that when they are going to surveil an American, they have to get a warrant.
It's important that as we come to this June 12th end of FISA, that we understand the importance of getting a warrant as we move forward.
Don't spy on me.
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 You know what? This is a first ever. This is, oh my God, where did I go? Hold on. Okay, there I am. This is a first ever. This had never happened. When you have members of Congress advocating against the intelligence apparatus spying on everyday Americans, it's a huge win. We have never been here. And I want you to feel as encouraged as what this means. This is huge. Okay. Now, the warrant, I'm going to talk about that at the end. Okay. Your questions, I'll have your questions at the end because at this time, we don't have a means of knowing. And that's one of the things that they want to find out, that they want to expose, so that we have the access to the FISA warrants that have been issued against us. And that is part of the Privacy Act request that you should all be doing. Anyways, in the Senate, we have the man that's always for the good fight doing the same thing, advocating for reform to FISA 702.
Senate negotiators, meanwhile, close to finalizing the legislation which would extend Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA. After months of unsuccessful efforts there, what are your expectations?
I think what our intelligence community did to Donald Trump as a candidate in 2016 was unforgivable. It was an abuse of power, and really has happened to many, many Americans. We found out that tens of thousands of Americans are being spied on by their own government. So I'm for the warrant requirement. I think we should not renew 702 unless we put a requirement that says if you want to search for an American, you have to ask a judge, an Article III judge in a public court. You got to ask them for a warrant. Short of that, I'm not for renewing the thing. I think it was a terrible abuse to Donald Trump and a terrible abuse to many Americans. So I hope the president will help us in this. In the past, he has been for this warrant requirement. I hope he'll come out in support of our legislation.
So he's being since President Trump is pushing for a clean renewal, he's being very smart, reminding President Trump, listen, you were a victim of this. And I think that President Trump is playing 4D chess, because this is the next news, which is very good for us. Some people are screaming and shouting, and the way I see it, it might be really good. President Trump announced that he tapped Bill Pulte, the current head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, to additionally serve as the acting director of national intelligence. Outgoing director Tulsi Gabbard did something uncommon in Washington. She took on the swamp by reducing her own staff by 40% and redirecting $1 billion of her budget. So an office of the Director of National Intelligence official told Daily Caller News Foundation that efficiency efforts will continue as they transition to the incoming successor. This guy is going to do mass firings in the U.S. intelligence agencies. This came out today in Polymarket. This is good news for us. So this is the one person that we need to write and explain about the fraud, waste, and abuse that is being carried out at the DHS with all those stupid criminals following us around like cockroaches. Well, if he wants to fire people, that is where it should begin. So he promised to slash the size of the U.S. intelligence bureaucracy. He can also start by firing the 5,000 FBI agents that entrapped and persecuted the J6ers, because we know where they're coming from. Anyways, so the other good thing for us is the following, that Democrats that were pushing for the approval of the renewal of FISA now are really scared. His nomination sparked an outcry from members of the left and the right, who noted his lack of any background in national security or intelligence. Well, maybe that's better, because he's not part of the club. Maybe he's not like Tom Cotton and Cronin that protect intelligence people doing bad things. As well as his predilection for they say that he used his housing perch to forward allegations of mortgage fraud against Trump's perceived political foes. The Hill reported that Pulte further jeopardizes the renewal of the warrantless spy powers. Isn't that great news for us? Lawmakers said that the choice could collide with the already delicate negotiations to renew FISA 702 of the FISA Act, because a top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, who is Jim Hines from Connecticut, stated the following. You know, the reason you lost so many people on FISA 702 was a lack of trust of Donald Trump. And then he goes and pulls these stunts in a way that is going to really exacerbate the lack of trust. I mean, people had mixed feelings about Tulsi Gabbard. Nobody has mixed feelings about Bill Pulte. So this is a huge problem for 702. Translation, it's great news for our community. Then another one that criticized it was somebody who was investigated by him, who is the Adam Schiff, former chair of House Intelligence Committee, said, I think it makes it harder, much harder, to pass 702. So let's all welcome Mr. Pulte. I don't know if it's a bad thing, but those two things that I saw, that number one, he's going to reduce the size of the intelligence community, and number two, that he's going to make it harder to pass that FISA 702. He's got my endorsement. Let's see. And you know what? And I'm going to tell you the third reason why I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, because Scott Adams, may he rest in peace, thought he was a fantastic person and had an amazing talent stack. So I have to go back and listen to those Scott Adams episodes talking about Mr. Pulte. Anyways, so there's another thing happening, which is that Mockingbird Press, 60 Minutes, fired the very experienced veteran correspondent Scott Pelley, who is the one that exposed, the Havana Syndrome series, that even though he didn't cover civilians, and even though he's talking about, the little backpack thing, at least he did cover these whistleblowers and these victims' testimonies, which is something that the intelligence community, and particularly the CIA criminals, were not very happy with. So he got fired, and I have 60 Minutes is the most watched news program in the United States. And he led a 5-year study on Havana Syndrome. So suggesting directed energy weapons as the most plausible explanation for a subset of cases. So there you have it. Like Tulsi Gabbard said, the Mockingbird Press is alive and well. Now, Kevin Shipp, he's a whistleblower of the CIA, a former CIA, and he is denouncing that his former wife, who never worked for the CIA, is, and I have to differ from him. He says that she's bound by the state secret privilege, and I'm going to explain why I think that's not correct, which threatens her and my kids from making public what the CIA did to them: poisoning, destruction of all their personal property, being followed and threatened by agency officials. I don't know if Mr. Shipp has made the connection that he's one of us, but he's asking, please make this post viral. I have come out and publicly exposed their use of the SSP, risking my own freedom and publishing Twilight of the Shadow Government before the CIA could stop it. So what my family suffered is known to the world. Now I'm requesting to go before a congressional investigation, which we know it has to be, it's very likely, Napolina Luna's MK Ultra hearings that I have to inform to you. This week I went again and I brought some more information that can help. That it's the oversight committee that is going to be doing that. This is no time to back down. If you want to send your email, and very short email, 3-4 paragraphs without any typos, saying MK Ultra never ended, I can attest to it, that this and this and this is still happening. Anyways, regarding the state secrets, like people throw it around national security as if it was, like a common, attorney-client privilege, and it's not. The Obama Attorney General explained that the standards to determine the application of state secret are very reduced. And it says the department will defend an assertion of the state secret's privilege. This is Department of he was the Attorney General under Obama. In litigation, when a government department or agency that asserts a privilege makes a sufficient showing that assertion of the privilege is necessary to protect, and here's the important part, information that the unauthorized disclosure of which reasonably could be expected to cause a significant harm to the national defense or foreign relations of the United States. With respect to classified information, the department will defend invocation of the privilege to protect information properly classified. They haven't been paying attention to this. But this is what the reason I bring it before you is because it's a legal document that the executive branch is supposed to adhere by, and they're not doing that. So what is national security? Well, the Supreme Court has defined it. National security in U.S. versus Reynolds, a 1953 case, the Supreme Court says is this privilege, which is you invoke the state's secrets privilege when national security can be harmed. Okay? Supreme Court has expressed the only reason that justifies invoking national security as an obstacle to produce information is through the state's secrets privilege. This privilege requires that the party invoking it prove that there is a reasonable danger that the disclosure of the documents or information would expose military matters which, in the interest of national security, should not be divulged. In my personal opinion, the fact that the United States of America is perpetrating torture and exporting it everywhere around the world, that is not protected by national security. Those are crimes against humanity. And even if they are not guilty in the International Crimes Criminal Court, Nuremberg 2.0 is in order. Anyways, I'm going to give you an update this week. As I mentioned before, I went knocking on congressional doors, and I was, like I said, I was surprised to see that, in fact, one of the guys that I said, please, he's like, yeah, I'm on the Freedom Caucus. I'm one of them. I didn't know because I didn't recognize him, but now I know who he is. So anyways, the good ones, like Thomas Massey mentioned, there are 30 really good representatives in Congress, and they are not going to budge. I don't think they're going to allow anyone to bully them into changing their mind. Let's hope that the more experienced representatives like Mike Johnson, he's clearly compromised, and Tom Cotton and the other ones in the Senate don't play a little trick like they were trying to, at 2 a.m, try to pass FISA 7, a clean renewal. We have Andy Biggs, we have Eli Crane, we have Thomas Massey, we have a lot of good people that are going to do the good fight. So I urge you, and I did it in this Facebook Live this week. Please, it doesn't take you more than 10 minutes. Go into Grok and say, who is my representative, the representative and the 2 senators for zip code, whatever, and provide me the links to their web pages in Congress. And you make a little text message saying, I am watching you and hope that you vote against the clean renewal and demand a warrant requirement for U.S. persons in the FISA 702 matter. I will be watching and make sure that if you do not vote against the clean renewal and you do not vote for the imposition of these requirements, I will make sure to try to get you unelected in your next term. Just, very peaceful, but very straightforward. We need you to do that tonight. This is very important. If we could get 3,000 people to do this, FISA 702 is not going to go anywhere. We need you to do this tonight. Please share this transmission. I forgot to ask everybody, please share, like, and subscribe in order to fight the throttling and the censorship that we undergo. Anyways, I already talked to you about Dominic's translations. Share them far and wide. Also, Targeted Justice has in its webpage the flyers this is the time for you. The MK Ultra flyers. There's 3 flyers. Let me show you these flyers, and you should go make copies. I'm gonna put good. How do you say it? With good definition, with good high definition. I'm gonna put a. Let me see if you can you see it here. No, let me give you this screen. The high definition. This is it.
All digital.
No, that's not it. I'm sorry. I can't find it. So, oh, here it is. Okay. Here we have these flyers here. I'm going to put the high definition version of them, these ones. And you should try to make copies of them and take them to your state legislatures. Remember, the fusion centers belong to the states, and they perpetrate the psychological operations part of the program. So if you could make, copies of these flyers and distribute them in your state legislatures, it could be, it could do a lot of good. Okay. Anyways, now a Privacy Act request for those of you that haven't sent it, please send it. I'm going to be appealing my ODNI one because as soon as Tulsi left yesterday, I received the denial of my ODNI Privacy Act request without so much as an explanation. So please, as you know, the samples are in targeted justice. Now, this I need to mention this to you because some people think, oh, this is cute, whatever, but it is not, and it is something that you should stay away from, which is the following. This is happening in Twitter. And it's, oh, take your personality type test. No, do not go there, because this is the type of thing that the criminals do in order to perfect your torture menu. If they hadn't figured out your personality type by now, because as you know, your torture menu is created pursuant to your personality type. So don't go there. Don't give your information for free. I see people that the first person comes along and saying, oh yeah, I am collecting information on targeted individuals. And since you have such a desire to tell the world of what they have done to you, well, you go and you tell people that you don't even know who is behind that computer screen. For all you know, it could be the criminals. Do not relinquish your private information, including that of your torture, to people that or corporations you don't even know who they are. Please stop doing that. And, just keep your records, keep your journaling. Only entrust people that you know who they are and that you know they are legitimate. That's just my personal advice. I just tell you what I do. I wouldn't give my information to anybody. Finally, tomorrow there is a Latin American in Spanish, a live stream for the Latin American victims with our Vice President for Latin America, Javier Dadan. So please, if you see the stream, share it with any of your Spanish-speaking or Latin American friends. And I want to just thank you. I just want you to be very confident that really amazing things are happening. We are in a historic moment that had never happened before. The truth avalanche is unstoppable. So I want to, as always, be grateful to all of you that have made it possible for me to be here fighting for you. As I have told you, I'm not leaving here until the very last one, until the last weapon is shut down. I know that's an ambitious thing to think and say, but that is my goal. I don't want just the United States people to be free from torture. I want everybody to be free from torture. So there's a lot of work to be done. And let me check if there's any questions here. There's a lot of people that have been putting like, comments. Yeah, France. Okay, so this person asked me, can we do anything in France? The first thing you need to do, France, is the following. You're going to send a Privacy Act request. You're going to go to targetedjustice.com and copy it. Why? Because the 27 countries of the European community have a right. And if they don't give you your information, that you have a right to examine and demand correction, you also have a right to sue. And I would like to have a nice little group of people from Europe for a Privacy Act request lawsuit. So please start with that and don't take no for an answer. Okay, thank you for your question. That's, it really is, oh my God, hold on. What did I do? I don't know what I did there. Anyways, so I hope that answers your question. And also remember what I have told everybody, that when this is exposed, the people from outside of the United States can file a lawsuit in the United States courts for the harm that has been perpetrated to them. We have to organize attorneys. We have to educate them. And that way, that's going to be one important mission, just as I have promised that I will be educating attorneys here in the United States, so that they know how to plead and allege everything about this and provide them all the information. We can make to benefit this. Okay. You're very well. Merci bien. Il n'y a pas de quoi. Thank you so much. Thanks, Craig. I'm clearly against the silent. Okay. Well, psychiatrists and psychologists are starting to acknowledge or realize that that everybody's talking about the same voices, the same thing with the voices. And I'm going to write about that in my Mira. She also asked about the no one to diagnose Havana syndrome. I urge you to contact ICATOR, because I know that Melanie was working with somebody that, I don't know if he was diagnosing it, but I know she was finding some people to diagnose Havana syndrome. So I urge you to contact our sister organization, ICATOR, that does such an amazing job in Europe. Okay. Thank you, Jane. Nito Savage. Let me just see if there's any other comments, questions that I. Yeah. I nothing. I only spend my time working for freedom, so you should know that. Anyways, I don't see any more questions. You can always write to me through my Mira, and I'm gonna be writing things that you should be reading because they are important to the fight. So please subscribe to my Mira, anatoledo.substack.com. And again, thank you everyone for allowing me to be here fighting for all of you. I will see you next week, and be blessed, all of you. Be blessed and have a blessed week. Bye-bye.